In 1954, a man walked into Tokyo airport with a passport from a country that didn't exist. There was no record of his birth, no trace of where he came from. No nation anywhere on Earth had ever heard of the place printed on his documents. And within 24 hours, he vanished from history itself. This is the story of the man from Taured, or rather the mystery that refuses to be solved. The story begins, like many strange ones do, with something perfectly ordinary. It was just another routine day at Tokyo's Haneda airport. On July 14th, 1954, a flight from Europe had just landed, and among the passengers was a man in his mid-40s. Well-dressed, briefcase in one hand and passport in the other, he looked every bit the typical European business traveler. Nothing about him seemed unusual until he handed over his passport. Stamped on the front was the name of a country no one had ever heard of: Taured. The customs officer blinked, assuming it was a misprint, but the passport looked legitimate. Stamps, visas, even official markings from previous trips to Japan, France, and other countries. Every detail appeared authentic, except the country. Thinking it might be a misunderstanding, the officers casually asked, "Where exactly is Taured?" Without hesitation, the man leaned over the counter, pulled out a map, and pointed to a spot between France and Spain. But here's the thing. That's where Andorra is. The man insisted Andorra didn't exist. It had always been Taured, for more than 1,000 years. He wasn't joking. He seemed genuinely confused that no one recognized his country. Authorities took the man to a private room for questioning, but the situation quickly spiraled into something they couldn't explain. The man's supporting documents, his driver's license, business papers, even a checkbook, all appeared legitimate. Each one listed Taured as his home country. Every item bore the same unfamiliar insignia that no customs officer had ever seen before. Suspecting a sophisticated forgery, or perhaps some kind of elaborate deception, authorities decided to question him further. But his story never wavered. He spoke confidently about the company he worked for, the European offices he'd visited, and the banks he did business with. When officials contacted the Tokyo company he claimed to be visiting, they confirmed the business existed, but no one there had ever heard of him. Next, they tried calling the company he claimed to work for in Taured. No such company could be found. It was as if he had materialized from a parallel world. To rule out mental illness, they brought in a medical professional to observe him during questioning. The doctor found him sane, coherent, and, if anything, more confused than anyone else in the room. He seemed like a man who truly believed everything he was saying. But the more things didn't add up, the more confused and unsettled he became, as if the world no longer matched what he remembered. With no answers in sight, authorities decided to hold the man overnight. For his own safety, they said. He was placed in a hotel room arranged by the government, several floors up, with no balcony, and only one way in or out. 2 guards were stationed outside his door around the clock. His documents, briefcase, and personal items were locked away in an airport security office. Everything was accounted for, until the next morning. When officials returned to the room, they found it empty. The bed was undisturbed. The window was sealed. The door had not been opened. At first, they assumed he had escaped, but the hotel staff swore no one had entered or left. Police found no signs of a struggle, no scrapes at the window latch, no fingerprints on the fire escape. Just the bed, neatly made, as if it had never been slept in. But on the desk, beside the passport, lay 3 items no one could explain. First, a receipt from a cafe in Barcelona, dated 5 days earlier. Stamped with a logo no real cafe had ever used. Second, a business card, clean and professional. But when someone dialed the number, it rang twice. Then silence. No message, no beeps, just a dead line. And the third item was a coin. The writing around the edge looked like French at first, but when they looked closely, the letters kept changing and didn't form real words. What seemed like a minor issue with customs quickly turned into something much bigger and harder to explain. Investigators searched the hotel where the man had last been seen. They interviewed the staff, reviewed security footage, alerted nearby transit stations, and combed through immigration records. But they found nothing. No one matching his description had taken a train or called a taxi. His fingerprints weren't in any system. His passport hadn't triggered any alerts in international databases. It was as if he had simply disappeared. Behind the scenes, authorities began to panic. The more they investigated, the stranger it became. Every possible lead went nowhere. Every theory fell apart. There was no clear next step. Only questions that couldn't be answered. Inside those closed-door meetings, confusion turned into fear. The officials weren't just dealing with a missing person. They were staring at something they couldn't control or understand. After hours of tense discussion, they decided to cover it up. No further investigation. Quietly and carefully, they erased all record of the man, as if he had never existed. For decades, the incident remained buried, passed around as nothing more than a rumor. Then, in 1992, the first document leaked. A heavily redacted memo from Customs and Border Protection mentioning an unresolved anomaly. The pages were half blacked out, but enough remained to prove the rumors were real. As more files surfaced, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. A Japanese ministry report called it contact with an unregistered sovereign entity. A CIA memo, formerly top secret, described multiple eyewitness accounts of impossible physical phenomena during the incident. Most chilling, an NSA document stamped with a clearance level so high most officials had never seen it before. All of these documents suggested the government wasn't just covering up a disappearance. They were hiding something that broke the laws of physics. The most convincing evidence came from the airport's own equipment records. During the short time the man was there, electrical systems went haywire for no reason. Security cameras filled with strange static. Every clock in the airport lost exactly 47 seconds. Several workers swore their watches ran backward. The government quietly brought in a scientist, an expert in strange physics. After studying all the evidence, she reached one conclusion. There had been a hole in reality itself. Just for those few minutes, our normal world had opened up, and the man had stepped through from somewhere else. The leaked documents didn't solve the mystery. They deepened it. Some believe the man was part of a Cold War-era intelligence operation, an undercover agent sent to test the weaknesses in international customs. He carried expertly forged documents and a carefully crafted backstory designed to confuse officials. In that account, Taured was nothing more than a code name. His arrival, a psychological experiment, and his disappearance, an extraction executed with flawless precision. But the theory began to collapse under its own weight. If this truly was a covert mission, why use such an absurd cover story? Why risk detection with a claim that could be disproven in seconds? And most baffling of all, how could anyone vanish from a locked, guarded hotel room with no possible exit? The spy theory, in the end, answered none of these questions. The second theory ventured into far stranger territory, yet it seemed to match the facts with unsettling precision. It suggested that the man was not a fraud, not an agent, and not from any country on Earth at all. He was a traveler, but from another reality. His passport followed the exact design standards used in legitimate international travel documents. His currency, though unrecognizable, matched the size, texture, and printing techniques of mid-20th century European banknotes. His business papers were formatted correctly, complete with stamps, signatures, and legal phrasing in perfect order. But none of it aligned with our world. And his disappearance wasn't a lapse in security or a magician's trick. It was the rift closing, a temporary bridge between worlds, open just long enough for one man to step through by accident. Then, as naturally as it had appeared, it sealed behind him, erasing every trace he had carried with him, as if correcting a mistake that was never meant to happen. But among the officials who had seen the original case file, there was an even darker possibility. The man from Taured wasn't a lost traveler at all. He was a scout, not the beginning of a journey, but the first ripple of a much larger shift, a sign that the fabric of reality itself was starting to fray. In this view, the strange events reported that night were not random glitches, but symptoms of an approaching fracture. So the question is, if someone like him could pass through once, what's to say it hasn't happened again, or that it isn't happening right now? If you woke up tomorrow and the color of the sky was slightly off, if a memory you swear was real had somehow been erased, would you even notice? Or would you, like the man from Taured, just quietly disappear into a world that was never meant to have you? Subscribe for more true tales that make you question reality. And let me ask you this: if you discovered your home country didn't exist, how would you prove you were real?